networks don't talk about it. Government can't tax it. But sports betting is a $200 billion a year business.
That's a major U.S. Supreme Court ruling that could open the door for legalized sports betting all across the country.
The Supreme Court is giving the green light for states to determine on their own whether they want to legalize sports gambling.
Tell Donahue his next pick is good for 20 grand, but I need him to guarantee a win, okay? I need a lock.
He's not that fucking good.
No, Tommy, he has to. All right, he has to, or else they're going to kill me. Do you realize this, Tommy? They're going to fucking kill me. I can't afford to gamble anymore. I need a fucking lock.
Happy Sunday morning, everybody. Welcome in another episode of Lock Talk March Madness streams. Welcome in, welcome in. We'll let people kind of trickle here for the first few minutes. My name is Jake O'Kane. If you've been watching this stream, you already know that. Oh, man, the week continues. 8-3 yesterday, up 2.5 units. Things just keep breaking our way. I don't know how it's going this way, but it sure is. Talking about the week as a whole, it has been magnificent, to put it lightly. As you can see, the name of this stream, 33-14. We're up 12 units. I tweeted it out this morning. I truly don't know if I've had a better week in college basketball before, which nothing better than blowing your load in the first week of March Madness. But hey, I'm not going to apologize for wins. Before we get into today's picks, I've got 5 of them. Wanted to talk about Lock Talk, our number one and only sponsor on this show. The Lock Talk app is available on the Google Play Store as well as the App Store for our Apple iPhone users. Great place to talk some shit. I talked about it. I'm going to be making my comeback to the app next week to go balls deep into conference tournament play with you guys. Great place to talk shit. There's going to be plenty of knowledge on there. I'll be dropping little hints, even on games that I don't bet, just to try to get the social cranking on Lock Top. And that is spelled LOCCTOCC, not the way that the podcast is spelled. I know that's confusing. All right, let's get into the 5 plays that I've got today. We're going to start off with a 3/4 of a unit play. For those of you that know this show, half unit is kind of standard. 3/4 of a unit is plays we really, really like. First one, Drexel at Towson. This is going to be over 122.5. This is a play with fire type of game. We've got 2 teams that hover in the 350 range for pace, a couple of offenses that score about 70 points per game, and their defenses are pretty mid, and that's kind of why I find myself here. Neither of them near the top 100 net defensively. They don't turn teams over. They just rely on poor shooting to really keep things mellow. This matchup earlier in the season, there were 2 of them. Pretty simple. Game 1, OT thriller, finished with 152 points in regulation. Slower start, but they scored 88 points in the second half alone. They did all that while missing 16 free throws, shooting a combined sub 60 from the line. 14 threes, pretty normal. Nothing crazy in that one. They didn't ratchet up anything but the pace. So I like the look on that one. Now, game 2. This is how we kind of get to the total that we're at today. Sub 30% from 3, not a great finish in the just over 100 point section. Sub 50% from the free throw line, 9 block shots. 2 guys handled nearly 45% of the scoring. I think we're going to end up somewhere in the middle. We've seen the extreme on both sides. A lot of the time, a third matchup kind of ends up somewhere in the middle of those 2. Again, 122.5, just not a very big number. It's also worth mentioning, since their last matchup, Towson's cleared this number in all 9 games. Drexel's done it in 7 of 9. So, like I said, I'm going to go 3/4 of a unit. Drexel, Towson to get the day started. Nebraska, Iowa, interesting game. I said it yesterday, some inconsequential Big Ten games. Probably misspoke on that one because this one, there's all sorts of consequence. I'm going to go Nebraska team total over 81.5 here in Lincoln. The last 2 weeks in Lincoln, man, I feel for the Husker fans. It has been absolute disaster. A once fun bubble team that was looking like a 7-10 seed, maybe a play-in team that shakes things up. They're now at risk of missing the entire Big Ten tournament altogether. Now, it's not the most likely scenario, but it's 100% on the table. Today, they get the Hawkeyes, who, again, another team that they can make this Big Ten tournament with a win and some help today. but they're also one of the worst teams in the country on the road. 1-8 straight up and against the spread. They allow nearly 86 points per game away from home. Nebraska, not an offensive juggernaut. I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass and tell you that, but I'm banking on desperation on both sides. Honestly, it's a desperation type of game. Iowa, even more risk of missing on the trip to Indy. So I think they're not going to roll over, even if this thing gets ugly. The Huskers, they finished regulation in Iowa City with 76 points. They missed 10 free throws in that game, turned the ball over 14 times. I think they cleaned some of that up. But again, I do like the desperation. We only need 6 more points for that. So I'm going half unit. Nebraska team total over 81.5. Moving on to the afternoon, Northern Alabama catching 4.5 at Lipscomb. Now, ASUN title game, going to be a blast. Highly suggest you watch this. Honestly, both of these teams probably deserve some sort of a shot at the tournament. They've had great seasons. This was a split series during the regular season. Both teams won and covered at home. However, this one being in Nashville is very interesting again. Now, doesn't mean it's a gimme. They're just 500 against the spread at home, and they haven't really established a dominant home floor. And we've seen it this weekend. They played Queens yesterday, and Queens, for those of you that haven't watched a lot of ASUN basketball, not a great team. They had these motherfuckers on the ropes. They were up 10 with 4 minutes left, under 4 minutes left. It's not this Bama team. Completely different week. They've blown out both of their opponents in the tournament. They're 8-2 in their last 10 against the spread. They've won 9 of them since their last matchup in February. They've rattled off 4 straight with an average win margin of 17. I really do think North Bama is cooking, and I like them catching 4.5 here in the ASUN title game. 2 more games to go. First one, Oregon. I'm going first half against Washington. Washington is fully eliminated from the Big Ten tournament, so they're not playing for anything. The Ducks have made it a point all season to start games fast. They're 21-9 against the spread in the first half and 10-4 on the road where they've covered 6 straight. The Huskies just 10-19 in first halves. They've really struggled lately getting games going, just in their last 3 games alone as their season has kind of deteriorated. USC up by 12, Indiana was up by 14, and Wisconsin was up by 15. In their first matchup, Oregon dominated the boards, out-rebounded them 35-21. I think we see a lot of that this time around. It's kind of a reverse on what I've talked about all this week. It's senior day, but this is a team in Washington that is led by a lot of underclassmen, and the seniors have wildly underperformed. So Washington's season is over today. I think Oregon lays it on them in the first half. I'm going to lay 4 points for a half unit on that one. And our nightcap to get our day wrapped up, hopefully get a 5-0 day wrapped up. JMU team total over 65.5. They are playing Troy. I'm not going to try to tell you that I don't understand the number. JMU and Troy were under teams the majority of this season. We also saw a very, very low scoring game earlier this year between the two. However, the Dukes saw a complete change in this team in mid-January, or it was more like late January, but they were a team that was a game over 500, had fallen to 5th place in the conference rankings and just lost 3 of 4. They had no semblance of last year's team that had made it to made some noise in the tournament. However, they completely flipped it on its head. Since then, 10-2, climbed back to the top of the Fun Belt. They have a shot to dance again, which is awesome. I think this is a very fun team. They're very well coached. During that run, we saw a team that was averaging around 70 points per game jump up to 77 points per game. And it's just been going up as we go. If we look at their last 5, 74, 83, 78, 85, and most recently they had an overtime 93-point game. I know Troy is solid defensively, and I know that the metrics are going to tell you that Troy is going to hold on this one. I just think JMU is a completely different team than what we've seen all this season. I think they're only getting better as they go down the stretch. I think they're going to win this game. I also think we're going over the total on 65.5. So half unit on that one. So let's run it back. JMU team total over 65.5 against Troy. Oregon first half is laying 4 at Washington. North Bama plus 4.5 at Lipscomb. Nebraska team total over 81.5 against Iowa. And then our first one of the day, that's going to be our 3/4 of a unit play, Drexel at Towson over 122.5. So 5 plays, kept it around 10 minutes. That was kind of the idea. Hopefully you guys have a good Sunday. We're going to try to push this thing over 14 units and wrap up what has been, again, like I said, maybe the best week I've ever had in college basketball. So I'm sure that's going to crash and burn. I am very aware of how this goes. So appreciate you guys tuning in and watching. Good luck today. Stay sharp, and we will likely talk to you tomorrow. I was going to look at that actually before we got out of here. So Monday's schedule is kind of interesting just because they're not really firing up any conference tournament play. I don't think we're going to get almost any games tomorrow. Let's just take a peek. Yeah, we'll be all right. Yeah, we'll be all right. We get some CAA semifinals, get the Sun Belt title, SoCon title, Horizon League semis, some Big Sky. Yeah, there's only about 10 games, so we will see on stream. We will see. But anyways, appreciate you guys tuning in as always. We're going to try to keep this rolling best I can and talk to you tomorrow, hopefully.